Building safe spaces. So in the next few slides, we're going to be talking about how we're going to create safe spaces, how we practice in our organizations and as individuals. So as we go through this, I want you to really think about how do we create safe spaces, not only on a physical level or a policy level, but how we behave, how we speak, the energy that we create in a space, how people feel as they enter that space. So keep this in mind as we talk about the next slides. Okay, so now building on safe spaces for wellness. Big thing. Protocols, practices, and policies. These tell people how to behave in an organization, and they need to be backed up, right? So we need policies, we need these practices. They include trans people, gender variant people, and they need to be backed up, like I said, right? Intake forms. These are the forms when people first come in, and if they don't see themselves included, that automatically says a message. Legal names, chosen names, same thing. We need legal names on many of our forms, but chosen name is how we relate to them, how we can communicate them. Gender identity included, right? Talking about their process, all of those things within the work that we do in brochures, posters, all of those things. Staff trained, right? We can have all the policies in the world, but if they don't know how to relate to trans people, it doesn't matter. Inclusion of trans health issues, right? We need to have that training, like we said, but also understand that there is a health concern or that there are possible health concerns as trans people, and how does stress impact that. Assume all clients could be transgendered, right? This is important in terms of non-discrimination, right? Acknowledging that anyone could be. A lot of people, you can't tell, so we need to make that assumption. Pronouns, so important again, and bathrooms, right? Creating those gender-neutral bathrooms are so important. Okay, so some more guidelines for professionals. Learn where your client is at is so important. Are we talking about sexual orientation? Are we talking about someone that's transgendered? Are they looking at full gender reassignment or somewhere in between? Or are they just choosing to cross-dress? Is the person intersex? Or are they just perceived to be gay or somewhere along those lines? Or maybe there's gender and sexuality. How do they interact? Right? These are really important if we want to understand and honor our clients. Okay, so now the big thing, when you're present with your clients, you want to be yourself, because clients are going to find out that if you're lying or not being your authentic self. And be sincere, right? If you don't know the answer, be honest, right? The fundamental approach should be one of acceptance and openness to hear your client's voice. So just listening is so powerful, to say, I want to know where you're at and how I can help you. And that goes for any client, let alone for a trans person. Come from a informed yet not knowing stance, in which clients can tell their stories unburdened by your prior assumptions regarding gender and sexuality. Be non-judgmental. So we all have ideas about gender, about sexuality. Even myself, who's worked in this area for a long time. The big key thing is to really listen, right? And find out what it is for this client in their story. They're the experts. Alright, some more things to consider. One, is there a support network? For everyone, this is important, but especially for trans folks, as sometimes they're excluded, kicked out, all of these things, and so they may not feel that there is a network, and there may not be. On the flip side, there may be, but we need to explore that to find out to support the client. Identify negative environments and work with others to find positive solutions. So maybe the home is negative, maybe their church, maybe the workplace, right? It may be a paying job, so they may not be able to just stop it, right? But we need to get creative to support them and maybe find other solutions, find other employment. You may be the only support. So important, like anyone, right? Sometimes suicidal people, not all trans people are, but many are, they only need one person to help get them out of there, to see a future. Same with trans people. If they know that there's at least one person supporting them and saying they're awesome, they can make things happen for themselves. Power your clients by seeing them as experts on their own lives. They're the only ones that understand their journey and where they're going. We need to support them in that, right? They need to feel that their voice, their story is authentic, just like anybody else's. Okay, validate your client's feelings. Now, I've said this again, so important validation for trans clients, right? They need to know, they've been told their whole lives that who they are is not real, it's a figment of their imagination, or they're sick. And so it's really important that we validate their feelings. Affirm their clients' hopes and options as a gender-varying person or as a trans person, right? Right. They're wanting to transition. They want to live their authentic selves, whatever that looks like. Let's work with that. Let's create options, right? But be honest, right? These are the challenges of the world that we live in. Let's say, okay, we can make this work. Model and reaffirm the terms that your client uses, right? So if your client uses she, trans, even tranny, which is derogatory for many folk, right? Honor that. I have one person that uses the pronoun it. It's not something I'm comfortable with, but in order to honor this person, I use it as their pronoun, right? And the client may not want to use any labels at all. We need to honor that. Okay, the final slide. So be prepared to discuss marginality, privilege, and power with your clients. These all, in many positive and negative ways, impact and influence your clients on an everyday basis. Understanding how religion, ethnicity, culture, class, etc. play in shaping the identity of their situation. Like anything, like for example, religion. They could be part of a church that's very supportive, or be one that is very demeaning and says the client's going to hell, right? Which has an impact on the client. Allow a person to come out on their own time. Allow environment to be as comfortable as possible. So important. They need to know that their journey is their own and that it needs to be as safe as possible. There's always risk in coming out, but let's make a plan. Let's support the person. Let's not push them before they're early. Find good role models, right? Like all of us, we need to see those aspiring people so we move forward and see, oh, people are doing this. Well, trans people are no different. However, there aren't many trans role models out there. They're starting more and more, but we need to have them in place where people can see them in our workplaces, in schools, these kind of things, so people can say, oh, I can do this too. Be an ally. So this means, like everything we've talked about, but most importantly, listening, asking questions, and doing your own research, and being an advocate, right? Standing up for our clients' rights. They may not have the ability, so stand up for them, or teach them how they can stand up for themselves, and that's even more important.